Hey, what's up, dudes? So we're back in the. Oh, what a terrible intro! We're back in the balance adjustment preview here. So I already did my initial thoughts and my reaction to all the changes. So now I want to go through them real quick and kind of talk about how I think these changes are going to impact the meta. That's what the focus of this video will be. So as for Tenebria here. Doing more damage is cool. Decreasing speed is cool. The sleep part is really cool, obviously. So, what does that mean for her, like, in GVG and Arena? I don't think it makes her relevant at all. I mean, it's really cool. But the reasoning is, like, the stuff that she wants to crowd control, a good majority of those units are ice. So you just miss half the time. Montmorency, Angelica, SS Bologna, Dizzy. A lot of those units are relevant on defense. Crow. All of those units are still being used. So if you were to try and use her on offense, there's just a good amount of teams that you're not going to reliably crowd control, which is going to stop her from doing what she wants to do. So that's like Arena. And in Guild War, she might have a little bit more use in Guild War. I've been thinking about doing a Guild War video. Kind of like a tier list, but kind of not. Where like I'm talking about like units that are strong in Guild War right now, both on offense and defense. And when you're building a defense, units that you need to consider hitting you. Because there's some units that can dismantle defenses on their own. And some people get these cool ideas for defenses and just get soloed by Dizzy or SSB. So, I don't think she fits in GVG for that reason. Just because of SSB. SSB absolutely dumpsters on her. So there's really not much she can do on defense in Guild War. Not what I'm seeing here. I mean, there could be some cool combination of units, but if I see a Tenebria there, like she's gonna have to be paired with like a Violet or something to be able to discourage whoever from bringing Dizzy into your team and to discourage you bringing SS Bologna. If you want to use Tenebria on defense in GVG, you got to pair her with a green unit. And even with doing that, there's still the threat of like Firekin, K-Ron, because like she could debuff K-Ron and you can run her on Ayala Violin, sure, but that doesn't really do much. So I guess like for your last slot, you could do like a Dizzy or something, but then that team just lacks damage. So you just kill the Violet, you kill the Charles, and then the rest of it's free. So I just don't think she's going to make a difference in the meta at all. She's got some buffs, and that's cool. But it's just like Sage Bale, or not Sage Bale, like regular Bale and Cezanne. He got buffs. Everyone thought he was going to be awesome. How many of that fucker do you see? Like, completely irrelevant because he's fire. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it's going to be. And the sad thing is, like, we even have green units right now that are really strong, but it doesn't make those ice units any less strong than what they are. So fire is just kind of like sitting there, and they're going to nerf one of the best fire units that we have. So rip fire, I guess. So that's all I got to say about Tenebria, really. Okay, this fucker, like, he's going to... Whoops. But yeah, this fucker right here says, so he's just getting more chance to stun, he's getting extinction, and he's getting basically more damage. He doesn't have to have the stun, right? So I think it's relatively balanced change, and I don't mind this change because I don't run any revivers at all, so this doesn't really like affect me. But like, he definitely impacts the meta, I think in a positive way, because Arbiter Vildred is cancer. Ruel is cancer. Mid Chloe is manageable. I guess Ruel's manageable too, but I think we need more extinction units in the game because, like, if you were to go and look at the top arena teams right now and see, I guarantee you 80 out of 100 have a reviver or two on their team. It's just what the game's flooded with right now. And this is a way to deal with that. So I think it's a good change. And that's the impact he's going to have. He's just going to be great on offense in a lot of situations. Like, he's just great now. I don't really know what else to say about him. Like, he has extinction and stuff doesn't revive. You know, that wasn't there before. It's there now. So that's really the impact on the meta it has. It's going to make Arbiter Vildred less relevant. And in addition, with the Corvus nerf, it's going to make him less relevant. A lot of teams are annoying to deal with just because of Arby's revive. And the cool thing about Spez is you don't have to build him pure damage. You can build him like a bruiser and he still does enough damage. So I think he's going to be very good in this meta. Like, he's perfect for this meta. I wish I had the fucker. That's basically like all I can really say about him. Really. Like, he's great. He's going to make a very good impact on the meta. Dominiel here. I mean, I respect what you guys tried to do, but she's still useless. They really needed to change her S2 to something useful. And even then, I don't even know if she'd be useful then. She's just another unit that stuns. Like, she does... Like, ML Araminta just does this way better, right? Like, all she does is stun stuff. Regular Leo is, like, twice as good as she is. Granted, yeah, she's ice, but there's actually a lot of, like there's a lot, like I was saying before, there's a lot of really good green units in the game right now. So an AoE ice debuffer that's not dizzy, like SS Blown is a little bit different because you're not really relying on her debuffs to kill. Like, it's the drink procs. So she does a lot of damage to green units anyways. Like, regardless, whether she hits or lands debuffs or not, that damage stays consistent. Dominiel, like, she's relying on a stun, like her whole thing is a stun, right? But there's tons of good green units in the game that she's just not going to stun half the time. So I think she's still useless. She doesn't impact the meta at all. Ren, she's cool. You don't really see her very often. I think she can be used the way she is now before her buff, but after her buff, I still don't think you're going to see her around. There's still too much RNG in her S3. I mean, it's got cool buffs, and the fact that you have greater attack buff there now is pretty cool too. She may be a little bit more usable on, like, offense. I don't think she really has a place on defense. Not really. But, you know, that's just what it is. The problem is a lot of her buffs can overlap, right? Like, I can see her being, like, good with Charles because he scales on buffs. A lot of these buffs Charles doesn't give to himself, but, like, the greater attack buff overlaps Charles' attack buff. Yeah, of course, greater attacks is better, but if you're looking for the damage scaling off of his S2, like, I really couldn't say if greater attack would give more than, like, other two buffs, or that, like, more than, like, him having regular attack and getting critical hit damage from her. I don't know. I think she's cool. I don't think she's going to impact the meta at all, though. She may be used in offense in some situations because she can turn cycle faster, and being on Celestine, her healing output is probably not that bad. But there's just better healers to use. So, I don't think she's really going to make a difference. This fucker is also really going to impact the meta. It's kind of hard to really talk about him without experimenting him because, like, they pretty much changed his whole kit. Like, his S1 is completely different now, obviously. It still does what it needs to do, but he... Like, you guys see a lot of Bassars on defense. He absolutely... Like, Dizzy's been a problem for a while now, and she's not as relevant now because there's so many strong greens. But she's still pretty annoying, and Zerato shuts that shit down. Not only does he shut Dizzy down, he shuts down the units around her, too, which is pretty sick. So I think he's going to have a huge impact in GVG. I don't know how good he's going to be on like defense. There could be some teams that he could be used there. That's just going to take a long sit down theory craft session with the guild, because I'm sure some of us will try and run him on defense to see how that is, because he definitely deters Dizzy from attacking you, like straight up. And there's a lot of really powerful artifacts you can put on mages. So there's some way that you could use him. If you don't want to get attacked by an AoE debuffer, then he's somebody you can put on your team to prevent that from happening. No one in their right mind will bring Dizzy to this dude after he gets buffed. They just won't do it. It'd be just a terrible decision. Which is cool. Like, he even deters like you fiends S2 and like a lot of those niche things, you know what I mean? So I think he's going to impact the meta in a positive way, because there really was no answer to Dizzy unless you had strong green units like Violet or whatever. Like in terms of like a GVG situation. Or some kind of counter unit or whatever, or, you know, cleave it. But I don't think he's like, just because he has a defense break doesn't mean like he's a defense breaker. And what I mean by that is like he there's so much more to his kit that makes him cool. I think just using him to AoE defense break and cleave it's like insulting to the rest of his kit. And I personally will not be using him that way. I think he's going to be a really good bruiser. So we'll just have to see. I can't really say how he's going to impact the meta as a whole, but I do know he shuts the shit down out of Dizzy. And Dizzy's still a problem. So it's a positive impact, I guess. But for what he can do outside of that is going to take a bit more testing, because his kit is just so different now. And then Assassin Cidd is very interesting. Do I think he's going to impact the meta or not? It's really hard to say. Because if you think about it, like Assassin Cidd on a defense, it'll like it can deter you from getting cleaved, right? But there's just so many other good offenses in the game right now that like there's auto cleaves. I'm auto cleaving. This guy doesn't do shit to my team because I don't use souls. I don't even hit skills. I just hit the auto button. So does it deter like some things? Sure, but you need good speed gear. Like, of course, it's easier for him to outspeed Ox lots, but there's some people out there like that just have better speed gear than you and are still going to outspeed you. There's people out there. Like, so if you build this like, oh, I got a 250, 260 Assassin Cidd on my defense, I'm not going to get cleaved. Yeah, keep guessing, buddy. You can still get cleaved. There's Oxlots out there that are 270, probably 280 now. So, like in upper tiers of Champion Legend. So, just because you stick him on your defense doesn't mean you're not going to get hit with Judge Kisei. Unless you're running him at like 280, 290 speed. Which is possible. It's very possible. I think, like, I got shitty speed gear and I can almost make him 270. So, the evasion's pretty cool too. I like the evasion. So, it could make him usable in GVG. I think, like, some people have tried to use him in GVG. Like, Varric tried using him, but I don't know really how it worked out. I don't think it worked out great. I think he just needs, like, more in his kit. Like, having a defense break is really nice. So, I think pairing him with another dark unit on defense could be really strong. Like, if you're using him with Arbiter Vildred, or you're using him with ML Ken, or, you know, ML Ravi could actually be really good with this guy. It's another team comp, maybe. Like, double Dark Lilius is kind of relevant right now. So you could put him on a team like that. It prevents you from getting cleaved in arena. It kind of shuts down C-Dom a bit. Those Oxlots, JK C-Dom teams. I mean, removing 20 souls, they can still bring 2 books. You know what I mean? So I guess that they could still cleave you with that. But I don't think he's going to have as big of an impact as people think because it's a new mechanic. But you know, it like if you think back on like Extinction with Lilibet, how bad did that impact the meta then? Lilibet was cool and all, and it was a new mechanic in the game, but it really didn't stop Arbiter Vildred from being around, did it? He's still everywhere. Spez, I think, will stop him because, you know, there's elemental advantage there and the damage output is nuts. So that could change that, but I don't think Cidd does enough in addition to removing those 20 souls to really make an impact to stop people from using J-Key at all. And even then, you still get BBK cleaved. She doesn't really need the souls. You still get auto cleaved. You know what I mean? They could still just run an extra book and not soul burn something. You know, they could still run like no, people cleave with Tywin and burn him for the extra turn. Just don't burn Tywin. Just use the defense break followed up on Green Bazaar and then cleave. You don't have to use his S2 as well. But, you know, you still have the extra book there. So, I don't know. I could be completely wrong about him. The evasion buff is really strong. So, just have to see. GVD defense, I think he can be used with another dark unit in conjunction. For offense, souls, removing souls does literally nothing on offense. So they kind of turned him into a defensive hero. But a 50% chance to defense break for 2 turns with how fast he is, there's a good chance he's going to hit that defense break a couple times. You know what I mean? So he could be used in offense for that. But Assassin Coley kind of does the same thing. And she's safer because she brings her own stealth. He brings his own evasion, which is good too. But it's not a stealth. So there's that. Arrowell, not even going to talk about her. She's trash. Mursa is kind of a meme. She's cool. She's annoying. And she can impact the meta. Not really. Elson, it's a bit too late for his buff. I think he's going to help out like newer players. You might see him pop up in like earlier game arena. And you might see him pop up in later game. I just don't see it, though. We're too late in the game for someone like him to get a buff now and really make an impact. A couple months ago, this would have been great. But now it just helps out newer players. I don't think he's going to impact GVG or anything at all. He could be used in GVG offense, I guess, as another healer option. But the problem is he's light and a lot of relevant units on defense are dark right now, so that's what he doesn't really have going for him. And then I guess I'll just pitch in the Corvus nerf here because that was announced. What that's going to impact the meta, you're just going to see less of him. Like he'll probably still be around. He's going to be easier to deal with when it's just your whole team versus him. And it's another indirect nerf to Arbiter Vildred because people aren't going to see the success with Arbiter Vildred Corvus that they did before. And that's pretty much the only changes I see with Corvus. You know, like impact on the meta-wise. So, that's going to be it. Hopefully I didn't repeat anything I said in the first video I did. Because that was just like a reaction. I might have did a little bit of talking about like impact. Like what their buffs mean or whatever, but this is like strictly catered to, you know, meta changes or whatever. At least from my perspective. I could be wrong. You know, I'm just a dude that plays the game. I'm not, you know, anyone special. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Peace.